I love to travel and visit new places, but I do have limited funds. So today I'm going to share with you 6 main areas in which you can look at where you can travel cheaply or have days out cheaply, and quite often even free. When my children were young, I didn't allow lack of funds to stop us going out for the day, and it is something that we still do. So let me share a few of those tips with you. The first thing is to plan and budget. Now, while sometimes it's great to be spontaneous, it also really pays, if you're on a tight budget, to plan ahead. What I mean by that is plan ahead what you're going to eat. You know, do you have the budget to eat out? If you don't, then make some sandwiches at home. The day before, I tend to make my own bread rolls as well, just to really keep the cost down. But I enjoy making bread, but obviously you can purchase bread or salads or something like that that you can take with you. But the key is to prepare it the day before, and you can leave it in the fridge overnight. Sometimes even make your sandwiches up if you're going to leave first thing in the morning. But that's where, you know, planning can be quite good. It's also quite a good idea to prepare the children. If you've got young children with you, tell them that we're going to have a picnic, that we're going to be eating sandwiches, and tell them what snacks we're taking. Maybe even get them involved in helping to prepare the food to take with you. In the past, I have allocated a child to take the rucksack with the food in, you know, by giving them some responsibility as well. But that's a whole different video. But as I say, the key is to sort of plan ahead according to what your budget is. And if your budget is very small, then, you know, only take that much with you. If you've got €10 or £10 to take with you for the day, then only take that £10, and then you're unlikely to overspend. As my children are older and I'm either traveling on my own or with my husband, our weakness is coffee shops. Absolutely love a good coffee shop and find it really difficult sometimes to stick to budget and, you know, not dive into the coffee shops. On my last trip to Strasbourg, I found this really difficult because it was really cold when I was filming, and I went past some gorgeous pastries, some gorgeous coffee shops. I was so tempted just to dive in. But because I had planned my day out of where I'm going to travel to and the route I was taking around the town, it meant that it was a little bit easier for me to say, no, not going in that coffee shop. I'm going to wait till the planned coffee shop. So plan your ice cream stops and your coffee stops. Now, the second one is food, but I've kind of covered that one really in the packed lunch. Obviously with a packed lunch, you can also incorporate anybody's food allergies or preferences, so you can actually cater for everybody. One thing that I quite like to do is make everybody's individual sandwiches and write their name on, which you can do in a box or in a bag or whichever. Now, the last time I went to the UK, I had the whole family with me, and I actually had 3 teenagers in tow. So this method, even though they were older and teenagers, actually worked really well. Everybody knew what they were eating, and there was no, "Mum, can I get this? Mum, can I get that?" And it just made it more pleasant, less arguments, and helped us stick on budget. Now, drinks is the next main area. Now, I have already touched on this a little bit in that you take your water with you and a hot flask of water so that you can make up either your own tea or coffee or whichever, you know, unless you're drinking the same thing, then you can make that in the flask. You can also put soups in flasks as well, and take a couple of flasks with you. You do have to take those things with you, but if every person that goes has a little rucksack, then you can share those things about. Now, the next money-saving idea is to find free things to do where you're going, because this avoids it being just a walking tour around a town. You can then actually go inside and experience something a little bit different. Again, with a little bit of planning ahead, you can research on websites for that town or city, or library websites, and they will tell you what's happening in and around the town at the time of your visit, but also they will give you information on museums and attractions, and free ones as well. Quite often, if you've got young children with you, they will be able to get in somewhere free. One thing we've been doing since the children were quite small, and we still do it today, to be honest, whoever is available, is to go geocaching. Now, we are actually premium members of Geocacher. We do pay a little bit per year for that. I think it's like $35. I'm not sure, but I will put a link to the geocaching website. But that's for the whole year. But you don't have to even pay that. You can do geocaching for free. Basically what it is, you register, you have coordinates, and you can go and find these coordinates. In the location of where the coordinates are, you will find either a box or something small that you can write on to say that you've been there. Now, on the larger ones where there's boxes, they have things called swappables. So for young children, these are great. Not only does it give them skills where they're learning to read compasses, but it also gives a purpose to a countryside walk as well. It's even taken us to places near where we live that you just wouldn't see otherwise. They're a little bit off the beaten track. Not only are the children or yourselves getting fresh air, but you're getting a bit of exercise too. Now, my next travel tip is about travel itself. Now, this is quite a vast area to go into, so I'm just going to briefly cover certain areas, but please do your own research on this in your area. I'm based in Germany, so I can tell you a little bit about the German travel system and the UK travel system. Now, if it's a big city, we tend to either drive or go on the train. If we're driving, we'll find a park and ride, which is generally quite reasonably priced, and then we would just get the train in. Now, we do on the German system have what they call a Bahn card, so it's a travel card basically, and I think most countries have some form of travel cards where you get a discount on your train tickets or bus tickets. We tend to use that. We've got one with 25% off, so it means that when we're going on slightly longer journeys, it sometimes works out cheaper to travel that way than it does by car. It also depends how many people are traveling as well. If I'm traveling on my own, I tend to do more of the buses and the trains because it's cheaper. When you're traveling to an airport car parking can be quite pricey. We did a 4-night stay and it was €80, and that was just a small airport like Baden-Baden. I'm not sure how much the larger ones are, but that alone we thought was quite pricey. Now, 2 weeks later, we actually did the same trip. So what we did is we researched the nearest park and ride, which happened to be Baden-Baden. So we parked there for the 4 nights. Make sure obviously you look and plan ahead and ensure that you can stay overnight, but it was exactly the same time as what it was the 2 weeks prior. What we then did is jumped on the bus that took us to the airport directly from the park and ride. Now, the bus was €3.40 each way, and the car park ended up costing us €16 for the same amount of time. So that was quite a huge saving. Now, with air travel, there are a variety of different ways in which you can travel cheaply. Firstly, you can look at cheaper airlines where they offer flights very cheap, but you just have one little rucksack with you. But again, with a bit of planning ahead, you can actually manage to take in there enough for your whole trip. If you're with the slightly larger airlines, then they have loyalty schemes as well where you can save points, and when you get points you can get upgrades or things like that. I mean, that's a whole video in itself because you can get credit cards that accumulate air miles. There's a whole heap of things, and there's plenty of information like that on YouTube, so I will leave you to research that one on your own. Another key factor, if it is just a day trip, is to visit on a Sunday if you're in Europe, because a lot of places are closed. It's much quieter, but not only is that beneficial that you can see more, but it means you're not quite so tempted if not so many places are open. But you still get a feel for the town or the city that you're in. Now, my last point is accommodation. Now, again, I'm only going to touch briefly on this because there's a whole wealth of information out there regarding that. But from my experience, what we tend to do is if we have to make any bookings for work or, you know, car hire or anything like that, I always do it through booking.com, and I accumulate so many stays, and then you go up on your levels, and then you get discount on stays, you get free breakfast, you get discount on car hire, and you can also earn commission back on what it is you've paid. Do have a look at those sorts of websites. As I say, I use booking.com. There are others. There's hotels.com and a number of others which you can research. Other ways that you can get free accommodation, completely free accommodation, is if you were to go through companies like Woofer, where you can basically stay on organic farms and help out in exchange for lodgings, food, your accommodation basically. There's also sites like Trusted House Sitters, where you could go and spend either a weekend or a couple of weeks looking after somebody's pet in exchange for free accommodation. Another one is Workawayers, where basically as a workaway you go to a host's house and you basically have to work 4 to 5 hours a day in exchange for food and accommodation. Now, we've actually hosted workawayers with us to help us with our renovation. So we've sort of seen that from the other side. And we've also had van lifers come as well and stay for a week or two with us. So they basically help us out with our renovation, and we provide them with food, accommodation, which they actually stayed in their van, but accommodation or a hookup and access to showers and things like that. So that's something to look into so that your accommodation could be free. Now, that combined with some of the other ideas, you got yourself a free holiday. So to recap on the points, first of all, plan and budget. They're the most important thing. So the second is food. Make sure that you plan ahead, take your food with you so that you don't have unexpected costs. The third one is drinks. Take as many of those with you as you can, or set aside a small budget to go and have a cup of coffee. The fourth one is finding free things to do within the area that you're going to. They are out there, trust me. You just have to do a bit of planning and a bit of research. The fifth one is travel. Research ways in which you can travel as cheaply as you can. The budget airlines are there. You've just got to do a bit of planning ahead of time to be able to make that system work for you. And lastly is the accommodation. Again, a bit more research and a bit of planning, and you can make that work for you as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it's given you a few ways in which you can get your cheaper days out. If you've got any days out planned, let me know down below. Or if you have any questions on anything that we've covered, then comment down below and I'll be more than happy to help as much as I can. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next place.